10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Drag racing fan, how is it going tonight? Man, it is good to be back here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Be sure to hit the like button for us and subscribe to the Competition Plus YouTube channel. Wherever you may be watching, please chime in. Let us know where you are watching from. I'm Lee Kraft, the Monday Morning Racer, and shortly my co-host, Slammin' Sam, he will be on and we will yak it up about drag racing. What a fascinating, what a great weekend we had there for drag racing at Brainerd for the NHRA, and I was also in attendance at the Southeast Gasser Association race in London, Kentucky at London Dragway, another great drag race that took place there. So we had some good drag racing all over. Where did you go to the drags this past weekend? Possibly, was it at Brainerd, Minnesota, or were you at London Dragway along with myself there for the Southeast Gasser Association, or were you at your local track, and what event were you at and enjoying drag racing from this past weekend? A lot of storylines, and we can tell you that the show tonight, we have got a representative of the NHRA Division III. We're going to be talking with him, Rodger Brogdon. We're going to be chatting with him. Remember, he had an on-track incident, and that beautiful Nova station wagon, it incurred some boo-boos. So we're going to chat with him about that. But Rodger Brogdon, in his own style and way, he is throwing out some extra funds for those people that are involved in drag racing at the sportsman level, and they're going to be having some big paydays upcoming that Rodger Brogdon and others are providing. So it is going to be a good show talking to them, and we're going to have a special guest. We haven't announced. They will be on sooner. They will be on later, and it's sooner than the other guests, and we're going to get some great insider information, though not our insider, on what we can expect coming up in the world of drag racing electronically. So that is coming up as well. We're going to take a quick break because all of this is brought to you by Weldon Pumps. If you need a pump, you need Weldon High Performance. So we're having some technical difficulties with Sam getting in. We're going to see if he can keep trying and make it and have him on here co-hosting as we usually have him. And yes, Drag Racing Central NHRA Speed for All releases this Friday. I know a ton of folks are looking forward to it. I hope that it releases on PC the same day, even though I've heard that it isn't. So I don't know if that has changed or not, but I'm on PC and definitely would love to have it on PC. Hope each and every one are you doing good. Pat, he chimes in and says, good to see you. I'm really impressed and thankful for Rodger Brogdon and friends. That is the only way we can keep the sportsmen alive. Yes, Rodger is doing some exceptional great work for the sportsman categories. And, we know that is a passion of his, and he has operated in them and won in them and has competed in them, and also at the professional level. Granted, sportsmen's, many of them, they are professionals. I mean, like, you go to someone like Dan Fletcher and say, oh, you're just a sportsman. I think he will have something very interesting to say to you on that. So in many ways, there are sportsmen out there that are professional for sure. So at this time, we're still waiting to see if we can get Sam in. We do got Bobby Bennett in the waiting area. We're going to bring him in and chat with Bobby early on tonight. Bobby, what is going on out there in the world of drag racing? Uh-oh. Bobby, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Bobby, can you hear me?
Yeah. I was trying to find my YouTube thing and turn it off. Sorry. Lord, I'm all shaved and messed up here. There we go. Now I'm here. Ignore my dirty, messy office.
No worries, man. No worries. So, the Lucas Oil Nationals, Brainerd, Minnesota. We wrap up. We have that annual trip to the great northern country here in the United States of America, and it proved to be a tricky, yet when I think tricky race for the competitors. I feel like that produces a stellar show for us as fans. I don't always have to see national records, whether it's mile per hour and ETs, to have a good show. So did you think that it was a good show or not up there in the great north?
I thought it was an excellent show. It was unpredictable. It was wide open and all over the place. And I thought the event was just really, really fun. It was predictable early, but then it got unpredictable. And that's what you're always looking for in a race, that, the cars are just battling to get on the track and everything like that. So it wasn't so much that it was a great or a bad race. It was odd. Lots of odd things happened, and not everything that happened that was odd got reported. So if you truly understand the context of what I mean, it was odd. It's not throwing shade at Brainerd. It's just weird things happen.
Yes, we saw a lot of cars get out of shape. We saw stellar performances in qualifying. Came into the heat of the day, track changed, and it became definitely a tuner's game. But it wasn't a track that could not be raced upon, because we saw Justin Ashley click off a stellar ET in what I believe was round 2, wins his round and moves on and continues the rest of the day. But it nonetheless was a good drag race. Yes, strange. And, I find it strange that we see Dale Creasy Jr. has almost a carbon copy situation happen to him that happened with him and Ron Capps with Steve Densham in the other lane. And frankly, I was surprised to see Densham even entered. Wow. From what happened earlier this year.
I don't know. Gary Densham with the I'm quitting thing, he's catching up into Ricky Smith retirement territory there. But, it was a really, as I said earlier, it was a peculiar race. Lots of things happened that didn't all get reported, like, injuries that happened just didn't really come out in the limelight. Just weird stuff happened. And I can't explain it other than to say that's odd.
That it was. Well, we are going to take a look here in a moment at the actual recap, but what are your thoughts on the Southeast Gasser Association event there, Bobby? Were you able to follow much of it at all and, get the results, and what are you thinking so far for their year?
Yeah, I'm not so much up on the results. I always just tune in because, it's the entertainment value of the racing there. I mean, the wheels up, stick shifting all over the track that really excites me. So, uh, that's one that just really it's one of those races where I don't know, for somebody like me, is kind of a throwback that I really don't care who wins. I just enjoy watching. I mean, is that how you see it from time to time, or is it the performance and everything?
Well, they have a fascinating format in they are attempting to take you back to like 1967, and they don't have the times. They don't have the ETs or the mile per hours up on the scoreboards. It's just a win light. And I've got no issues with that. I enjoy that. I don't think it's always about mile per hour and ET. Granted, they are taking qualifying. Granted, they are, keeping folks abreast of, hey, this was a win within this many thousandths of a second or hundredths of a second. And they are keeping people in tune with this car set a new record, because they do keep all of that, but to keep it to like 1967, they say, hey, we're not going to show you those times. And I feel like that does play well for them. And it keeps, if someone is out on performance, you don't know that. You can't tell that. And it makes every race seem like it's going to be the closest race of the weekend. And oftentimes they are. Tim Hall, who had won like 5 straight, shake the tires off the line, loses in round 1, and we have a brand new winner in C-Gas category for the first time this year. So it is a driver's place in the Southeast Gasser Association. It's not always just the car. And that is what I find most entertaining, is the drivers have to drive. They have to get it done behind the wheel. And not just behind the wheel, but with that shifter in their hand, since it's all clutch and it's all 4-speed.
The only thing that I've ever pointed out to Quayne that I didn't like was the pro tree. Because I think you ought to do it on a full tree. Well, they'll red light. Well, then they need to learn how to leave on the starting line. Yeah, you sit there, and that's the way it was in the 60s. But that's just being tic-tac on my part. But it's a great show. Quayne has busted his hump to do that, and a great personal pain as well. I mean, it's been a lot. Hey, if I can take a question from the comment section, Mike McConnell, he asked, what are your thoughts on ADRL closing shop again? Too much baggage? Was a great show, went out there. Lee, I want to see the look on your face when I say this. Ever see that movie Pet Sematary?
Actually, I haven't.
Okay, well, they had this cemetery that was up on the Indian burial ground. It's a Stephen King movie. And if somebody got killed, they went and buried it up there on that hill, but they never came back the way they were when they left. They'd come back like vicious killers, crazy one-eyed cat,
right?
All that. Well, the ADRL's been up on Pet Cemetery about 2 or 3 times too many.
It's, again, during its heyday, what an impressive show. But yes, it has had a rough time getting back up to speed for sure. And it is a brand that I think many of us would love to see doing well, but it's just, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think they were going to take it up on the Pet Cemetery again, and somebody said, "Nah, just let it go."
Yeah, just let it go. Just let it go. Well, Bobby, look, we're going to get to the first guest of the night, and you worked to get this gentleman on. Very interesting guest and timely guest with what is coming up in the world of NHRA, that from the littlest one to the oldest one, they can participate in. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break take this word from Holly. And after that, we're going to have Alex Knight on, who is instrumental in the development of the NHRA game that will be rolling out. What you got, Bobby?
And I will be back later on in the show with a commentary regarding what happened with the D-Wagon shootout.
All right, there we go. This word from Holly.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
Well, Mr. Knight, welcome to the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Thank you very much. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm doing great, and it's good to have you on. It's good to hear from someone from Game Mill Entertainment to chat about this upcoming released NHRA, the video game. And look, I'm excited about it. I remember the NHRA games on PC back in the day, and I would try to sneak away and play them at the school computer because the school, for some reason, had it on a computer and was able to play NHRA on an electronic format and version, and we're about to get it again. So, first of all, what do you do at Game Mill Entertainment? Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, that's the easy one, right? So I'm the senior producer at Game Mill Entertainment, and I am the senior producer on NHRA. I've been there since conception, all the way through to releasing here just in a few days. And yeah, I've been through every step of the game at this point.
Stellar. So, coming on to that project, what did you know about NHRA drag racing? Was it something that you were familiar with, or was it something that you had never experienced before?
So that's a great question. I've been in the games industry for 15 years now, and I've actually primarily done motorsports games. I've got a history with WRC. I've got a history with NASCAR games, Hot Wheels, a little bit of everything. So NHRA was familiar, although not intimately familiar. And so coming into this, I was thrown right in, right? And they had me right on the track within a couple of months of starting on the project to get the real feel of it. I mean, it was absolutely exhilarating. I started talking to all the pros. We had such tremendous help with NHRA as well early on to onboard us into all the intricacies that would make the game. So that's kind of, my background there.
Well, that's cool. Good to hear that, you've had your hands on with motorsports. And yes, even though the NHRA is a different animal, as you experienced, it is wild there at the track and on the line. And, I'm curious. I know everybody is expecting gameplay. So staging a car and a burnout and going down the track and hit the button for the chutes or whatever. But in the NHRA, one of its hallmarks is every ticket is a pit pass. I'm curious, how is that going to be worked in the game, if at all, to show that side of NHRA within an electronic version, every ticket being a pit pass?
That's a pretty great question, and you're absolutely right. I think it's one of the greatest things that I experienced, at the NHRA races too, is you're there, you're up close, and if you're one of the lucky fans to get there when they decide to turn over a nitro car, well, you're gonna enjoy your lungs for a little bit. So we did a couple of cool things, I think. One, we have replicated those pits in the game. So when you are tuning your cars, you're there with the trailer, with the awning, all of that's recreated. We've got some various levels of trailers. So in our game, we're kind of a rags to riches. So the more money you invest in your team as you're building up your career, the better your trailer is going to look, the more customization you can do with it. And so you are right there right before, race weekend starts. So I think that was integral. And then the other big thing too is we had an amazing opportunity to get our audio team out at Las Vegas last year, and we captured a ton of real audio from the racetrack, and that included setting up audio mics over in Coletta's pits and Justin Ashley's pits. And so when you're in the pits in our game, it's real background ambient sounds, which I think is stellar.
Man, that's all very exciting. Yes, the ambient sounds. And I will say the trailer, by the way, the audio on the trailer, I was like, wow, that does sound really good. It sounds like what it should. And good to hear.
It's the real deal. It's absolutely the real deal.
Yeah, there you go. I was impressed.
We have, if you go back to last year's Las Vegas event, you'll actually see our audio guy in a lot of the NHRA.TV footage and the Fox footage where he's right there. He's got all of his rigs set up. We captured the starting of the Top Fuel Nitro car, Spunny car, as well. And I think that's something we added to this game that wasn't done in the previous games where, the folks at NHRA was saying, this is such a visceral moment when you turn over that starter and it's the roar of those nitro cars coming to life. We want that in the game, right? So that is something we definitely wanted to recreate, and so that's a feature in the game now.
Stellar. I'm getting, with what you just mentioned, and I was wondering if this would be the case, I'm getting Dirt to Daytona vibes. Is that kind of what we can expect from, like, I think it's like super modified to pro mod all the way up through to top fuel?
Yep, that's going to be the career mode of the game, and that's kind of the heart of it, right? So we want players to start with more entry level classes, and I think that's okay, that they're in the kind of a custom class, a super modified class. Once you're spending money on research and development, then you can move up into pro mod if you want. And then from there, you're going up into the pro stock class. And then obviously then you're into the nitro classes, funny car and top fuel. And so that's where players want to end up. And that's obviously the most exhilarating to race with too. But yeah, it's definitely a kind of a Dirt to Daytona, as you say, rags to riches vibe. Our career management aspect is really robust. You're going to be spending a lot of time dealing with investments, with your R&D, like I said, buying and replacing parts. We got a lot of nice data in terms of sort of mimicking, kind of what the budgets and financial side of NHRA can be within certain range. So we aren't completely off the wall fictional. So I think that's really cool. I think players are going to have a lot of fun going through 20 seasons of an NHRA career.
All right. I got to press here a little bit. And there's many other questions, but there's some questions that in the comments section that I know you can easily handle, like requirements and things of that nature. Here's something, though, that I doubt many people realize, and I got to give a shout out to Ohio Racing Media for tipping me off, and then I noticed it and dug a little deeper and actually shared it on my own show. There are some tracks rendered that are not currently national event tracks, such as Tucson, for example. Yep. So is there any alluding to what may be in the future via the game, or will there be some sense of a regional, divisional, even national event aspects as we can find in the NHRA?
So I'm afraid there's probably nothing super secret there. Honestly, it came down to us and the developer going through, and part of it just comes to gamified visuals. We wanted tracks that were in interesting locations. We wanted, just, I guess, iconic tracks. And that did branch into other NHRA member tracks, such as Tucson. And I think those are super cool. They were really excited to be part of the game too. There's nothing more than that, it really just came down to making kind of our own progression. So we don't follow a specific year in the game. It's your own career. We have some randomizers that vary it up season to season. But yeah, I think that's kind of just the primary, way we came to the conclusion for those tracks.
All right. Well, I'm going to bring in my co-host Slam and Sam. He's finally able to make it. And Alex, that's cool. That even looking for tracks that look different. And Tucson's got such a cool looking tower that they are able to get rendered and processed. And I don't know, that gives hope for some other tracks possibly in the future to be included within the NHRA game that might not have a national event. So that's cool to hear.
They were so excited to have their logo on their tower and in the game too. We sent them renders and they were just thrilled with it. It was really fun to work with them.
So I guess my question is for the game, being there in Vegas, as you spoke about, getting all this actual footage of the sounds and what it sounds like between rounds and all that. How many takes or how many different sound bites from teams, did you guys get for one? And was there certain things about, the sound bites? I know, certain teams play different music. Were you guys able to capture that stuff too and edit that out to give each team their own unique feel?
So that's a great question. At the end of the day, we came back with just shy of a terabyte of audio in total, and that was raw capture through the whole race weekend. We did ask that the teams not play music, only because there's licensing rights and stuff that we would have to have dealt with that can get kind of muddy. So we did ask that they basically not play music. We were set up, like I said, in the Coletta pits, and then Justin Ashley's pits for that. That gave us such a great benchmark. I mean, you can hear tools and stuff, all the power tools and pneumatic tools going off. There's just the general vibe of people talking and chattering, so you kind of hear that in the background. The ambiance is very much contained within those pits, where you would hear any of the other ones.
Sound.
Yeah, I would say, when happened to be there, while you guys were doing that in Vegas, there's sometimes someone would crack a joke, but they would kind of whisper just like, well, we don't know what you guys are going to use and what not. So I got to ask, when you guys are going through some of that stuff, was there any moments where you're like, okay, that was pretty funny, or you could tell that the teams were, a little bit lax versus, in the group of throwing wrenches and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, from what we heard, and mind you, I didn't personally listen to all 1 terabyte worth of audio, but from what I heard, everybody just was doing their own thing, right? I mean, that's their job, that's what they're focused on. We stayed very much out of the way. We set up our rigs, above their canopy beams. Again, just kind of tucked it out of the way. We didn't want anything hitting any of their gear or anything like that. So they did their job. I'm sure there's some probably pretty cool audio on the backtrack somewhere, but yeah, we kept everything pretty cut and dry for the game. We wanted to be able to loop it, so we don't want to hear I guess some teams saying the same joke every 5 minutes or something like that. So it's very loopable audio for the background.
Yeah, that would not be funny after a while.
Right.
For sure. So we can expect great visuals, great audio, and I'm really excited understanding that you got that like dirt to Daytona aspect, because I love that particular NASCAR game when I was a teenager. Loved it. Mm-hmm. Now, to some particulars that we're getting from the chat. PC requirements. What is it going to take to run this thing on PC?
Yeah, no worries. And to answer, I think I heard you earlier. We will have PC out day and date here, still on the 26th. So you are good to go. Really, what we're recommending is that you've got probably a 2060 NVIDIA grader. You can probably run it on a 1060. Again, NVIDIA GPU, or as the min spec. Intel i5 equivalents. I'm kind of an Intel AMD guy, so that's why I'm spitting out those specs. So I think, if you've got a PC built within the last 5 years or so, you're probably pretty solid to play it on the solid 30 FPS. If you want to go up to 60 FPS, I definitely recommend, a bit better PC.
All right. Multiplayer. What are we looking at?
So we got a few different things on multiplayer. Online multiplayer is asynchronous. So what that means is you'll basically go in and post leaderboards, and you'll post your ET, you'll post your reaction time, and then you can compete against others asynchronously. So it's not live multiplayer, but that means you can do it whenever you want. So I think that's the benefit there, is we keep kind of this track. And so every one of the events that you can go to, you'll be able to post your scores, compete, go up the leaderboards, and if you're the fastest and the quickest, you're gonna shine there. On top of that, though, we also have local 2-player multiplayer, which I think is awesome. It's split screen racing, and everybody wanted that. And that also allows you to play as any of the drivers that we've got in the game too. So if you want to dive in and mix and match Top Fuel cars, you can take your career car and go against Brittany Force if you want, or you can have a couple of the real world funny car drivers head to head, if you want to do that too.
All right.
You don't know if you've asked this question already or if it's been answered, but what about like a career mode? Like I know in other, games you can start off as a rookie and work your way up. Is that something that is going to be developed into the game or already into the game, so you can kind of do your own season and run for a championship?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were chatting about a bit. It's very rags to riches career mode, very in depth. We go through a total of 20 career seasons, each one slightly randomized every time. And again, you start off sort of in the super modified class, which very entry level. You're dealing with sequential shifting, and then you work your way up into the nitro classes with the centrifugal clutch. Again, tons of team management aspect as well too. You're managing finances, your crew chief, your driver that you want to represent you. So it's kind of like an overhead, but you're also in the car racing as well. And I got to mention, this is one of my favorite things that happened last year. So last year, as you guys know, in NHRA, they introduced the helmet cams. And that was something that was really cool. Well, at the same time that was happening, we decided to mimic that and develop it for the game as well. So you do have a first person helmet cam when you're sitting inside of a funny car or top fuel car or top fuel dragster. And it is awesome. I think we replicated the same sort of focal distances that were used on those cameras, and it just looks cool.
Well, man, look, I'm excited for it, and even more excited now that I know that I can have it, straight away on PC. That is going to be stellar. I will definitely be going by Steam and getting it and being hooked. And I'm not at a racetrack this weekend, so yes,
Nice,
actually.
nice.
But look, thank you all for your hard work. And before we do let you go, because we've got William Tharpe in the waiting area and need to get him on, one last question. What surprised you the most about NHRA drag racing at the Camping World professional level?
Oh man. Honestly, I just feel like the camaraderie is way more than I've ever seen. I mean, I was talking to wives and mothers of the drivers out in the pits, just low key after hour stuff, and they are all family. I mean, it's such a cool, tight knit network, and you don't often see that in a lot of motorsports. Oftentimes you get a little more competitive, but NHRA was a next level. And I think that's what surprised me kind of the most is they're all looking out after each other. They're all excited for the game. I mean, it's been, I think now 15 years since the last PS2 game. I had a great time chatting with some of the crew from Team Coletta, and it's interesting, they're in this multi-million-dollar hauler, right? And they're still rocking a PS2 playing the old school games. So I'm excited for them, to be able to upgrade to a PS5, hopefully, and be playing our game and enjoying that, for years to come too. But yeah, that was definitely one thing I think that surprised me.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Alex,
Awesome.
Look, thanks for coming on and chatting with us. A lot of people have been wondering, they knew it's coming out. They knew some of the features, but to hear from someone at Game Mill, definitely good. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, and listen, August 26th, go pick it up on Xbox One, Xbox Series X, S, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Switch, PC. And if you're going to get it digitally, we've got 2 other editions too that I want to make sure you guys are aware of. We've got our digital kind of deluxe edition, but we've also got a digital ultimate edition that we did some cool stuff with paint schemes, extra content for haulers and race suits and cars. I've even got this kind of cool sci-fi looking one just because we had a little fun with some fiction there. So I definitely recommend grabbing that if you're playing on Steam or any of the other platforms digitally too. And if you're out at Indy too, we'll be there. We've got a game booth. We're going to be playing it live out at Indy. I'll be there, so feel free to come up, say hi. If you watch the show here, give me a shout. You can see if we can sign some games for you guys or whatever too, but we'll be selling them on site as well. So thank you very much for having me on. I super appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. Man, that's all cool. We look forward to it.
Awesome.
Sam,
I
want you to know I'm going to beat you.
You probably will. I don't play video games.
Oh, Sam, come on. You got to get this one at least.
No, I go to work. I go to the gym, and that's it.
Oh, you got to get this one, man.
I don't play video games.
Well, we got to get you on this one.
No, you remember when your parents used to say, like, hey, man, go outside and do something? Yeah. That was me. There was one PlayStation bought in my whole childhood, and I spilled apple juice on it because my brother was being a turd. And my mom was like, I'm not buying you guys another one. So I'm going to buy the game. No, I'm going to buy the game. And I was going to tell Alex that I'm going to buy it, and it's going to sit up in my office. Like, I mean, there's nothing behind me, but all my other stuff is in front of me. So yeah, I'm going to buy it. It's going to sit in my office.
Oh,
so that way, man. No, so that way in like 20 years, when one of you guys breaks and, and, I don't have the limited edition, guess what? I do. I've got the first one, and it's still in the package.
It's still in
right
the package.
There.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still in the package.
That's my
Oh,
retirement.
man.
That's my retirement plan, man.
Well, look, let's take a look at the Brainerd recap done by.
I can't replay Brainerd. I was there.
I know you were there.
You can't make this stuff up. You can't replay it.
Well, we're going to we're going to look at it. We're going to take a recap, and then right after that, William Tharpe. We're going to have him on, division director for Division 3 of the NHRA, I believe.
The penultimate race of the 2022 NHRA regular season was in Brainerd, Minnesota this past weekend, and once again, the action did not disappoint. Four-time and reigning Top Fuel champion Steve Torrance finally broke through for his first win of the season, defeating the likes of Mike Salinas, Antron Brown, Brittany Force, and finally Tony Schumacher in the final round to score win number 52 of his career, tying him with Joel Motto for fourth on the all-time Top Fuels wins list. In the Nitro Funny Car, Bob Taskell, who made it to his fifth final round in the last 6 races, would pick up his second consecutive win in a row, defeating Ron Capps in the final round to pick up win number 12 on his career and third of the year. Also, congratulations to JR Carr on his win in Mountain Motor Pro Stock and to Tricky Ricky Smith on his win in Pro Modified, and congratulations to the rest of our winners out of the 2022 NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals from Brainerd, Minnesota, as the next race on tour is the granddaddy of them all, the biggest and most prestigious race on the NHRA Tour, the U.S. Nationals. See you then.
All right, Mr. Tharpe, welcome to the Competition Plus Power Hour. And for you all out there in the Division 3 of the NHRA, this is the guy that you call and complain to. No. How's it going, man?
It's going, man. How y'all doing this evening?
Man, doing great. We're here live talking about drag racing and talking to interesting personalities such as yourself. So, for clarity's sake, so everybody understands, what do you do and what is your role?
Well, pretty much anything and everything. Official title is the North Central Division Director. Been with NHRA since 2018. Basically, we cover anything and everything from event setup to event planning to running the events to track maintenance, track cleanup. Here, up until about 30 minutes ago, was unloading our division trailer for our event at Beach Bend Raceway Park this weekend for the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series. So pretty much anything and everything that happens in our division, from the Lucas Oil Series on down to all of our NHRA member tracks with the 7AT Racing Series. We're pretty much the liaisons for that. We are the phone call that gets made when they need something, when it's good, when it's bad. So we're pretty much that individual on the other end of the phone that someone's going to call with a complaint or with something to praise us about, which happens more than you believe it or not. So it's not always complaining, but it's an interesting job. To say that we have one specific thing would be very untrue. We pretty much cover it all from A to Z.
Wow. Y'all get compliments? That's so good to hear, but I'm surprised. That's good. That's awesome. I mean, I remember one time I got the manager of a restaurant and I was like, yeah, I'd like to talk to you about this waitress. And you just, the whole, like, he was tense. He was ready. He was going to take it. And I'm like, hey, she did a good job. Oh.
Well, the interesting thing about it is, at the end of the day, these are customers. These are people that have a passion. They're embedded in a culture of motorsports. We're blessed to have this opportunity. Every event that I go to, every day that I go to my office, which is at Indianapolis Raceway Park, there, Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, where my main office is, it's like a dream. And for someone that can't go to work with that enthusiasm, that spark, and then has a customer that calls in, or our competitor, whatever it is, with a complaint or something to praise, you got to take the good with the bad. I've certainly taken a lot of the bad, but we're finally seeing some of the good. And I think that's just the mindset that we have as a division director. You set the tone for the events. You set the tone for the attitude that's going to happen during the event. You know, I rolled into the Bowling Green last night. It was dark when I got here, worked for a while, worked all day on some stuff, had a lot of different things happening. But to go back to the main thing of what we do, it's weird, the pulse behind what's going on. And you know, to sit there and say that it's one thing, it's not. And to say that it's just me, it's not. It's an entire group of people that dedicate themselves, that are completely embedded in this sport, this industry, this culture, this lifestyle, just like our racers are, you know, at the end of the day.
So you talked about the culture and being embedded in it and being, having this positive mindset. When you look at and you see things that are posted that have that negative, you know, vibe to it or that negative energy, how do you, I guess, being the director, look at that and say, you know what, okay, these are the things that we can change. This is what we can do differently, and this is what we can take out of what was said.
Well, I mean, you're going to have the good with the bad. If you're in this business, and you guys probably on your end of things hear a lot of the negative, sometimes you sift through it and say, hey, you know what, that is a good idea, or maybe we need to venture into that topic a little bit more, or kind of sidestep a few things. For me, I just ignore it. I mean, they're just words. I'm not going to allow some words that someone said potentially out of anger or not knowing the entire backside of what the situation or call was. I'm not going to let them ruin it for everybody else. Sometimes if I know someone's had a disturbing or a frustrating comment and I see them at an event, it's like, hey, what was going on the other day when I seen that post? And generally it's going to be, well, I was mad about something else. And, it went on from there. A lot of it can be good feedback, though. And you've got to be able to take that feedback and figure out what exactly they're trying to point out. And if it's good, great. And if it's just them venting, then let it be, because I've had that happen before. Actually, I had a racer in Columbus at our event come up and we discussed a few things. He was very professional, very polite about it, was very frustrated, and didn't really resolve it other than listening, because that's really all I could do at that point. A couple of days later, he called and apologized. And I said, there's no need to apologize for anything. I need to know how you feel. I need to know that passion. I need to know that level of frustration. So we make good calls, so I can give the track crew, the track owners, everyone the input they need to make things that much better. We never stop evolving with what we do. So if someone throws a negative comment out there, that's great. It's just words at the end of the day. If they take the time to call or come up and approach me at an event, I value that even more, because those are words that you can actually see the words and the meanings behind it. A lot of people can hide behind the keyboard cowboy thing and run off with things and create a mess. That's not what I'm about. So.
Well, Greg Meyer, mentions here, Will, thanks for the Chicago D3 race. And I know we pumped it here on this show. I know I pumped it on my show. If it wasn't for Funny Car Chaos, I would have been there myself covering it. It sounds like there was a successful race there at Route 66 in Division 3. Talk to us about what went down and how it all unfolded.
Well, you have to check back with me Thursday night on how it all unfolds and ends up, because unfortunately Mother Nature dumped about 4 inches of rain on us Sunday morning. We were primed, ready to go. They called for the forecast, maybe a chance of light rain, no big deal. Well, 4 inches of rain later, and we realized that there was just not going to be a chance to get it done. So the race is to be continued. If you saw the social media post that we did, we're going to finish things up this weekend here at Beach Bend Raceway Park. Brock Porter and the crew here have been gracious to give us some time to finish things up. But I think everyone is happy that it was a successful event. The reason it was successful was that everybody had a hand in it. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just the track crew. It was everybody, from the staff that we assembled to the very first phone calls and meetings that we had, going back at least, I want to say, almost 2 years. I think it was around the pandemic time. There was actually some calls that were going on about the possibility of a race at some point, once things cleaned up, once the world kind of righted itself and we found a new direction. So yeah, the event was successful. Where it goes from here, honestly, can't answer that one. I want to get the race done, to be honest with you. But I certainly can say that was something special, that if you were there and part of it, you would agree that something that I don't think can ever be duplicated. We as a group, a team between the NHRA, the Route 66 Raceway staff, NASCAR, everyone else that's involved, come up with a plan and we executed it. We rolled the dice with a track surface that had not been touched in 2 years. Jeff Conley, who runs the NHRA safety squad, pretty much the individual that oversees everything, took one of his only off weekends to come up there and be by my side along with everybody else. Cyrus or Brad Bushell, the official starter of Route 66 Raceway, and the North Central Division official starter, and work side by side, hand in hand with us all the way through. The amount of effort and roll of the dice that went into getting a successful event, I don't think people will ever know. It even took Alan Reinhardt. He was out there trying to drive the track on Sunday. So the event itself was something that hopefully will lead to something down the road. But if it doesn't, it was a chance for a lot of folks to say goodbye to a track or to have that one last opportunity to be there. So we as a division, we as a crew, we recognize that and was just honored to be a part of it. And it'll be something that'll go down in my career that I was highly proud of. And hopefully it'll lead to something that we don't know. To be honest with you, I've got 10 Wallies sitting in the trailer right now, a backdrop to hang for Thursday, and we're going to crown the dubbed Route 66 Revival champions. If in fact an event does come back down the road, I think that's the name that it's going to stick with, is the Route 66 Revival. Alan Reinhardt actually came up with that, so I'll have to give copyright bonuses to him on that side of things. But it was definitely something interesting and unique that, again, if you were there, it was something special. There was something in the air. We even had our competitors greeting spectators walking through the gates. Show me a drag race, let alone a Lucas Oil Series event, where the spectators are being greeted by our competitors, our family members, as they come through the gate. So, we had a cool little time up there, as they would say.
Good job.
So for you, having, these drivers, being excited about these races and having them, like you said, greet people and just be excited to continue to help you guys promote the race and what your division is doing. How does that feel to know that you have the driver support behind you?
It's huge. The fact that a lot of these folks do this for fun, that's what drives me. They want to get away. We all know the world is crazy. And if you say it's not, then you're lying. We all know that things can be chaotic. You come to the racetrack, you come to these events to enjoy being with your friends, your family. And that's really what it comes down to. So to kind of go back to it, knowing that everyone was supporting it wholeheartedly. And there's a lot of folks that were just saying, hey, you know what? I just can't roll the dice right now to go to that event. And we had other people that doubled down, that were bringing people that hadn't run in years. The amount of support from the local racers was amazing. The amount of folks that said, hey, I've not raced in 2 years. I've not been on a track. I need to get this done. I need my license. I need a certified chassis. Whatever the case was, the enthusiasm, the spark that gave those folks that little bit of hope that maybe there's a future to it, it was amazing. Again, I know it sounds like I'm beating the drum and being overly positive about it, but again, that was one of those events, and I think you guys can attest to this. You go to a race where you think, okay, it's going to be a good deal, have a good time, and it's one that's talked about for years to come, and only the people that were there that had the opportunity to, and that's another way of phrasing it as well, that not everyone could make the trip. There was a lot of scheduling conflicts. We were on top of some other events. But to know we've got that support and that level of dedication to what we do, it just means the world to me, and as well as the NHRA. I think that's what we're all about. And it's kind of cool to see that the world's kind of figuring itself out, regardless of what side of the equation you're on. I think we've got a lot of positive. And if we continue to focus on the positive, and the racers, the competitors, sponsors, tracks, everyone realize that there's a lot of positives still out there, we're going to kind of overcome a lot of the negatives and the folks that sometimes don't think we can pull off the unthinkable, I guess.
So, William, we've got you all wrapping up from Route 66. We've got Bowling Green itself, and then rolling right in to the granddaddy of them all, which your office is apparently just, feet away from, and you're obviously going to be heavily involved. So how's it all going to come together?
How do I want to put it? With a team that's second to none. I don't think that people even realize the dedication, the hours that are put in from everyone on the NHRA side, whether it's the folks at Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, the national event team that travels all over the place, our division staff. For us to give you an idea, the next 9 weeks, we have events 8 weeks out of those. So I'm going to be on a stretch all the way through for 8 weeks, 1 week off, and then we go to Vegas. And that's the same for the majority of our crew. The national event team's going to do the same thing. The folks there at Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, they've got back-to-back events. So we're all going to just focus on the fact that we've got probably one of the best U.S. nationals on tap, so to speak. And I've kind of created the mindset, like I told everyone, I said, last couple of years, Mother Nature's not been kind to us. We all go into this with a positive mindset. Guess what? We're going to accomplish the unthinkable, which is another successful U.S. Nationals event. And a little side joke with Reinhardt, if he's listening, I don't know if he is or not, but I'll double or nothing the bet that we had last year. It stems from the previous year on the U.S. Nationals. So coming together as a team is what it's all about. And it doesn't matter what side of the business you would be on, whether you're with the track or with NHRA or vendor, sponsor, competitor. I think we all come together with the mindset we're going to put on one of the best U.S. Nationals that we've seen in a number of years. and we're going to do it. And I have faith in everyone that's a part of it. I'll be up in race control the entire time watching it, and I hope that we talk about it and go, you know what? That same bit of luck that we found in Chicago continued to Bowling Green, and we brought it right back up with us to Indy for the U.S. Nationals.
Very cool. Very cool.
So looking forward at it and looking at everything, the U.S. Nationals, the granddaddy of them all, your office is right there. What is that facility like, now leading up to the event? I mean, you're there, you say you're there all the time. What is it like leading up, to getting everything ready for the granddaddy of them all?
Well, for me, I actually get lucky because the week before I load up everything I can, stuff it inside a T&E 28-foot trailer and haul butt down 65 to Beach Bend Raceway Park. So I get out of town right before the chaos hits, but it is literally 12 to 15-hour days, 7 days a week. The crew there is going through the paces. They're ready at the facility. I know the crew from Brainerd's pretty much landed, or the rigs will be rolling into town. So there's a lot of setup that goes into place. The one thing that I don't think people realize is we've got well over 800 entries. You've got to come up with about 800 parking spots. So just imagine the math on what you've got to do with a typical parking spot, and then take the logistics of the facility and then figure that out. So you talk about some complete unsung heroes of the program. You're going to see those guys and gals out doing their thing. You got the folks from the track trying to make sure that every amenity, every blade of grass, every flower, everything is on point, because it's our chance to show off. It is the biggest race of them all. And I don't think we want any more than perfection at the end of the day. I used to work for a track operator, and he pretty much said, I'll strive for perfection, but I'll settle for excellence. And I think that's the mindset that's going on back home right now. You'll get calls and texts asking where a few things are, or where was this, where was that. Just that sense of excitement. It's kind of like almost leading into Christmas is the way I phrase it. You got a bunch of elves running around crazy with like a chicken with their head cut off, but at the end of the day, it's all going to come together. Once they open the gates Sunday to start parking them this week, it's on. It'll be a blur.
Well, Will, look, thank you for your time and coming on here. It will all come together, and I hope that what you all have got to wrap up from Route 66 just continues that great storyline and caps it off, and that, yes, we are all hoping for a future there, and hopefully it does come to fruition. So thank you for your time, man.
I appreciate it. You guys do a great job on this. I've actually caught a lot of your programs before, so I commend you guys for keeping up with the grind and making this happen. It's definitely an honor to be a part of what you guys are doing. There's a lot of grassroots programs like this, different things that are out there, different content. I always tell folks, support everyone that you can. It's a whole new world of what we're doing out there. Don't ever give up on the dreams and keep striving, because I was one of those guys that certainly never thought I'd be where I'm at. Certainly blessed every day to do what I do, and I know you guys probably feel the same way. So keep up the good work, and I'll keep watching. And don't be a stranger. Y'all see me at the event or something like that, stop by and say hey.
We'll do. Thank you, man.
We'll do.
You're very welcome.
Well, Sam, we need to talk to more of those directors around the nation right here on the show. I like talking to those type of guys. They're cool. They're cool.
Guys and girls, gals.
Yes, guys and gals. I mean, if I've got to be that accurate, I mean, just
we have to be politically correct.
Right. We have to be. We have to be. Yes. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and right after the break, our insider in his insider function with some commentary on this past weekend, Bobby Bennett, owner, publisher, head honcho here at Competition Plus. But this preview of some classic drag racing, which will be coming up on the Competition Plus YouTube channel.
12 years over Labor Day weekend at Indianapolis, Indiana. They're called the Drag Racers, and they devote their lives to a sport which sends them flashing down a quarter-mile track at better than 200 miles an hour to a race that lasts just a handful of seconds. Before anyone can run on the track, NHRA safety and technical inspectors examine every detail of a car's construction. More than 400 cars had problems, minor and major, and they were quickly and expertly corrected by the Hearst Safety Center specialist. First of all, in drag racing, a car has to be classified. It must be assigned to a specific category and checked and rechecked for strict adherence to NHRA rules for safety. During the 5-day event at the Nationals, 130,000 fans are on hand to see what the best can do. Drag racing today is big business and serious business. It isn't just a bunch of wild kids tearing up and down a highway. Drivers and mechanics are automotive engineers. Test everything a car can do in just 440 yards. Speed is essential, but control is the most important element of all. Why are the rules so strict? Because there are always some who will try just a little too hard.
Bobby Bennett.
They were running Pro Mod back in '66.
Pro Mod's had, a couple of renditions, if you want to go over what Pro Mod could be considered and thought about. But you got to find me that 65 footage, Bobby. My dad and Gene Cromer were there in 65. So find me some 65.
I'll have to find it. I'll have to dig it out. So, guys, I'm going to do a commentary. It may not be popular with everybody, but it's how I see it objectively as a journalist, and that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with it, and it all centers around what happened this weekend with the D-Wagon shootout. I love Pro Modified. I think it's one of the greatest classes in the world. I love covering it. Will cover it for decades to come till my heart stops beating. I will cover that class. But what transpired last Friday at the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals in the Pro Modified pits is a case of a selective responsibility. My opinion of what transpired with the format change in the D-Wagon Pro Modified shootout is not one that the fact that the shootout format changed. It was just how it was handled. NHRA can say all they want that the change was one of the sponsors and racers and that they had no hand in it. Maybe so in the development sense, but we all know, and even NHRA knows, the racers knows, nothing happens at an NHRA national event without the sanctioning body's approval. Bottom line, if NHRA doesn't approve it, it doesn't happen, no matter how much the racers jump up and down and protest. So let's go back to the article I wrote on Ricky Smith last Friday. The way this began is I called Ricky, asked him on the record, why didn't you run the D-Wagon shootout? Before I hit the first keystroke, I reached out to the NHRA for comment and clarification. Instead, I got crickets. Now, the NHRA eventually gets back to me on a lot of issues. I'm not out to slam the NHRA. I think they do a good job in many tough situations. I know some of you don't want to hear this, but they do the right thing the majority of the time. But in this instance, just ignoring a situation as if it didn't happen and shirking the responsibility by saying not our gig just isn't going to get it. I did get somewhat of a response via Alan Reinhardt on Twitter, the voice of the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series, and it simply said, I'm not bagging on Bobby. This wasn't NHRA's fight. A response might have changed the story's title and impacted how the article was worded. I write when I do on the facts that I have at hand and what I can prove. The value of what D-Wagon presented to the racers is not lost on me. Let's face it, without Fuel Tech and D-Wagon, NHRA Pro Modified would have been likely dead after this season. Those guys saved Pro Modified. Bottom line, no ifs, ands, or buts. The Pro Modified racers deserve to get as much money as they can. I believe they don't need to be a part of the Camping World Drag Racing Series to be considered professional racers. In fact, I believe it's politics that keeps them away from that, keeps them away from being a part of the Camping World Drag Racing Series. However, there's a right and a wrong way to do things. Changing a format the day of an event is clearly, in my opinion, the wrong way. My beef with NHRA is that they let it happen the way it did. A chip draw does have a level of excitement and unpredictability. I'm not against it at all. Even 2 weeks ago, if it was said a chip draw was going to be the format, there likely wouldn't have been an argument. At least not for me. Maybe Ricky, who we all know could argue with a tree stump until it uprooted itself and ran away. Maybe there would have been an argument there. But 3 days after NHRA issued a press release with the pairings, no way that was right. As I see it, Ricky is wholly justified in the argument. NHRA had a responsibility to ensure everything was fair in the transition of even for those who I'm sure aggravate the crap out of them. That's what a governing body should do. If there wasn't a 100% agreement, it shouldn't have happened. In a situation like this, it simply cannot be a majority vote and remain fair. Likewise, when the meeting happened in Ricky's absence because of a pre-existing situation, it really pointed out how it was going to happen with or without him. Another part of the big picture is how NHRA could have helped D-Wagon get the most out of their investment by alerting the media that the event would be now run on a chip draw basis. They owed it to D-Wagon to craft a game plan that would have best benefited them. But instead, the NHRA said in not so many words, not our deal. This statement won't endear me with some of the keyboard jockeys out there, many of whom cried for Ricky to retire and leave the sport already. Obviously, winning on Sunday proved he wasn't scared of participating. In a sense, I think D-Wagon should have earmarked a portion of that prize money for Ricky. Because of Ricky and his declaration of sticking to his principles, or just arguing, the D-Wagon shootout blew up the internet and gained the deal the attention it truly deserved. As I see it, NHRA not getting involved also set a dangerous precedent. Remember that time they changed the format on the Big Bud shootout the morning of the event? Yeah, I didn't think so. Now the door's been open to suggest that a sponsor can bring money to the table and formats and rules can change on a whim because this is money the class needs. Whether true or not, it will now be a perception. And how many times have we heard that perception is reality? Money makes this world go round. That is true. But so does fairness. That's what I got, guys.
All right. Any other insider information or commentary?
I don't know. I'll probably walk out the door and get shot or something. But, and again, this has nothing to do with the racers and everything to do with the NHRA. The racers deserve to have as much money as they can get, to race for as much money as they can get, because those guys are, in every sense of the word, you might want to call them outlaws and all this stuff. No, those guys are professional drag racers. That's what they are. And they deserve the utmost of respect and everything. But again, my opinion is not on the racers. They did what they're supposed to do. The NHRA could have helped a bit more in the situation.
So I guess my question is, looking at all of this, is when a sponsor does step up in a quote-unquote sanctioned thing, yes, they're running NHRA rules, and yes, they are running at an NHRA facility who is facilitating this event. If a sponsor decides to change something and communicates to everyone that is on the premises, hey, I'm going to throw in an extra $10,000 to make this even more exciting after we've had racers on social media promoting this left and right, and they go to everyone, isn't that them being notified?
Well, they're being notified, but when you set out rules and then you change the rules at the last minute, then it should be a unanimous decision. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, but it's just.
I mean,
opinion.
yeah.
You know,
I
I may very well be wrong in the eyes of the majority, but it's just my opinion. That's all. Okay, guys, you can let me go. I've done enough damage.
Well, look,
I've made enough enemies. I'm sure I made plenty of them.
Yeah, well,
just because somebody has a different opinion than me doesn't mean that I don't like them. They just have a different opinion.
Right, and
this is purely on the NHRA.
And granted, though it's your opinion is on the NHRA, what at least if we can all take this positive, no matter who it is, because there have been many people on Competition Plus that have had their opportunity to speak out. You have with Competition Plus the availability of a racer does have some outlet to say something, whether they're right or wrong. It can get out there, and that in and of itself is not censored, because it's easy for sanctioning bodies to hush it and nothing get out there. So overall, I think there's at least this positive. The news is out there, and it can be discussed, and it can be talked about, and whether it is NHRA or racers or whoever else in the future, it can be discussed from this situation about how it can properly be resolved, if it wasn't already properly resolved. But nonetheless, there's this precedence, there's this time, and everybody's got it for the future.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to my house and let you guys finish up the show.
All right. Thank you, Bobby,
for
checking in with us and that commentary. So, Sam, we are waiting on Rodger Brogdon. We're supposed to have him lined up and on the show. We'll see if he pops in. And I definitely wanted to talk to you about all of this, but we're having technical difficulties with you getting on earlier. What was Brainerd like? You were there. I haven't been there yet. Did you spend some zoo time? What all transpired and went down?
What is Brainerd like? Don't do backflips in Brainerd. No, that's an inside joke. What was Brainerd like, man? Let's talk about. We're gonna talk about racing. For me, I mean, some moments that I really want to discuss is Doug Gordon and that top alcohol funny car crash. I mean, for the man to get up, for him to get up out of that car and be able to walk away from that, I can guarantee you he's sore in the coming days after that. But it just shows the safety, that these cars have for him to be able. I was in the pits actually. I just got back to the pit, and that happened, and we all rushed kind of around the TV just to kind of see what had happened. And I mean, just vicious. There was a lot of carnage. Honestly, Brainerd did not. I mean, from the zoo to the racetrack, there was a lot of carnage. The blow up there, the nitrous backfire, and I just kind of like the Alan Reinhardt.
Massive.
Oh, dude, you should have heard it. The video doesn't know justice. You can see the lady off to the side of the car. You can see her kind of jump, and then the starting line guy jump. If they had a view where you could see all the people behind that, unreal. Hagen versus Height in Q4. I mean, Hagen pretty much blows up the car to go, straight, as Alan Reinhardt would say, and he goes straight to the top. So, I mean, and then what a tricky surface. I mean, we've been talking about how fast these cars have been all year, and to see these times, I mean, 380s, 370s to, Q1, E1, E2. I mean, you look at that, 370s and 380s. The racetrack was definitely tricky. And then the biggest controversy of them all, the first one is the Tony Schumacher, the wait time that we waited for him to get up to the starting line. I mean, they showed it on NHRA TV of him blasting through the pits because they had an electrical problem. I mean,
Sam, give us a sense of how long it was, because I watched the national broadcast, and they were honest. This is taking a while, but you can tell it's condensed. How long
Lee.
was
Okay,
that wait?
if I'm this is how long it was. Okay, I am sitting in Antron Brown's tow vehicle, right? I walked up, got the footage I need. I'm sitting in his tow vehicle. I dozed off twice, sitting in the tow vehicle, and then they brought the sweepers on the track. They swept about 4 passes, then they sprayed. Then I got out. I probably could have walked to the pits and back. It was so long that Mama Kate was like, put Steve in the car and pull him up, because he was the next pair. They're like, just pull him up and we're gonna race. Like, that's how long it was. Like, it was to the point where people were like, okay, like, how long are we gonna wait? But just like we said in the pits after the end of the day, that storyline, if you don't have that storyline, what storyline do you have to tell, right? I mean, it just made the storyline that much more. He goes up. Josh Hart's been on a freaking terror all weekend. I mean, Josh Hart and that team blew the doors off people. People weren't expecting that. And then he goes up and Josh Hart blows the tires, right? He goes on to the final round. Steve Torrence versus him in the final round. These marquee moments of that race did, make the final round even that much better, because now you have a car that's blown up twice, that doesn't have, the right sponsors. They've got 2 different wraps on the car. And, I mean, it just, that made so much kind of controversy to talk about everything. So that was, it was just way too long, to be honest with you, 100%. In my non-professional opinion, it was way too long.
It's interesting you mentioned what would the other storyline be, and I think this is what the other storyline would have been, Sam. If Josh Hart fires up that car, does his burnout, puts it in the beams, and runs with a competition single and wins that round, smoking the tires or not, I think the conversation would be, well, that's what he is allowed to do within the rules. He waited. It was a very long time, but he did what is allowed to him by the rules. I think it would have been, oh, he should have waited no matter how long it was so that we could have had a race. I think 100%. That would have been the conversation.
And that's what some of the guys said is, how do you do that to the Sarge? Like, how do you do, it's a double-sided sword. Like, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't, right? And in that moment, it's like, you know what? Hats off to Josh Hart. Because I saw him after, and, I just have that level of, like, I'm not going to go and ask you that question as a reporter, even though I want to ask that question right then and there. I know how I am as an athlete. I'm not going to get up there and do that. But you could see the raw emotion. And I mean, for me, it's just one of those things of, like, if I was in the car and for the racers that were sitting behind me, strapped in the car, ready to go, I mean, Sunday was a hotter day for us up here I was trying to explain to people up here, it gets hotter later in the day, and, but me personally, I would have fired my car up and taken my food. Like, enough was enough. But that's just me. And there's nothing, against that team and Tony or anything like that, but that's just personally me. Did I experience the zoo? Is that what your next question was?
Sorry. I did ask about that. Yes. Did you take?
I did.
Look at all the exotic animals of the Great North.
There's one thing I can tell you about the zoo, and a buddy of mine from the Napa crew, he was there, and there's a lot of animals in the zoo, but none of them will ever bite. None of the animals in the zoo will bite. It's the zoo itself that bites.
The zoo itself.
It's the zoo itself that bites. there's just something about that place. And if you go back and watch the Steve Torrance and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Bruno, if you go back and watch the Bruno and Steve Torrance, little thing that they did was giving out the belt. I mean, when you have a ride, a float, whatever you want to call that thing that's floating around, that's a pirate ship that's got pyro on the front, I mean, and a loudspeaker system. I mean, there was guys in brand new Broncos driving through the zoo. There was people with flags on top of their RVs. One of my buddies from here, who's a Napa distributor, went underneath a bridge that was way too low and forgot he had flags up in the back and scraped them all. I mean, dude, there was 2 full-size fire trucks with the lights going and stages on them. Like, the zoo is a different animal. There's no way to describe it. When you go out there, if I could have stayed an extra day and stayed Sunday night, I mean, I can guarantee you Bob Task and his crew were going crazy. I mean, from judges to the Nitro Bar to the Tiki Bar to Camp Palette to the EDC Bar. I mean, each little place has its own thing, and everyone out there, doesn't matter what color, creed, religion, whatever you are, you're there to have fun. I mean, that's what it's all about. Everyone's there, and for the Minnesota people, that is their last weekend. School started today. School starts and then the fireworks. They said there was about almost close to or $500,000 spent on pyro just for the fireworks, that were set off. And I mean, look, I've never been to Indy for the big go. The zoo. I mean, from the time you enter the track where it says fast track ticket access, from there all the way to the farthest point that you could possibly see back there in the trees and beyond is the zoo. Like, there's no part in there that's just not filled with fun and excitement, and everyone's just there. Like, I mean, literally that whole main row, if you guys could see that, it's unreal.
Sam. So I see something on this map.
Yes.
And it says restricted family camping, and then there's family camping. Like, how family is it really?
There's not. Everything is, dude, Lee. Everything is there. Once you enter, okay, Lee. When I tell you, there's the VP Racing gas station, right? When you turn off of that, you see that VP Racing gas station, and you see that big sign that says BIR, and you either turn left and go, behind all the nitro cars and all that, where that pit is, or if you turn and you go straight and you go up that bridge, you have lost control. There's no sanity. Lee, I am telling you right now, it's honestly, you've lost control. Got a comment from Lyle Barnett. Says, "What do I have to do to get on here?" I think we have lost control.
Yeah.
But if we're waiting for a guest, I mean, that's up to you, Lee. But Lee, the zoo, there's nothing like it. I mean, the Vegas race during Halloween does not compare to what the zoo is. But I mean, like I said, it's the last hurrah for us up here in the Midwest area. Back to the racing surface. I did say it was going to happen, but I backtracked because I wanted the birthday boy, and shout out to him, the birthday boy, Austin Prock. Austin was my pick for tonight. I mean, not for tonight, for this weekend to win. But Steve Torrance did it, man. And I mean, back to back here at Brainerd. Last year was his first year winning at Brainerd, and back to back. And to hear the, when you say you hear these staple noises in drag racing.
Yeah, right. I love the squunch of the tire when it comes back on the on the rubber.
But to hear the staple air horn at the end of a race weekend,
the air horn,
there was just something to it. And if you would have saw that team going into the final rounds. I went over and chit-chatted with Steve a little bit, and man, they do their thing, whether they're winning, whether they're losing. They've got their way, and they're doing it. What else do we have to talk about? You know what, Lee?
I want to ask this. I do want to ask this.
Okay.
Top Fuel and Funny Car were there. That's under the Camping World banner. Pro Mod was there. Great that Pro Mod was there. They even had the sleds there, like the Pro Mod sleds. Very interesting class. I've got to ask this. Was there a sentiment in the fan base of disappointment that Pro Stock Motorcycle were not there? Or were they fine with what they did have? Were they wanting more, or were they just so plastered that they really didn't care?
A mixture of happy with what was there and plastered. I mean, if I can be honest with you, but no, honestly, there was Sunday. I went up and sat in the stands after Antron Brown and Justin Ashley both went out. I went up and sat in the stands, and with Lyle, I went up and just watched the Doug Winters make a few passes, watched Steve Torrance make a couple of, passes, and Ron Cat. But everyone was appreciative of it. And it was really cool when it came down to, like, the pro stock cars, the Mountain Motor, because they're so different. People aren't used to. So a lot of people are sitting there and they have questions. But that Minnesota crowd is just so ready and so alive to talk about things. And they just love drag racing. And that's what it's about. I think a lot of people were really entertained by the D-Wagon shootout because there was controversy. I mean, we saw it all weekend, and I'm going to give my opinion, but we saw it all week during social media. I mean, social media was blown up by the racers. They did their things, and that's what Pro Mod is known for. Is you have a guy like Lyle Barnett, you have a guy like Stevie Fast Jackson that promote themselves. I mean, and all these other racers getting involved, and that's what it's about. And then you have this added suspense of, hey, just like you asked Wes Buck, this year, is it about the money or is it about the prestige? Well, this race was about the prestige and the money, because who was going to take home this first win? And now there's an extra $10,000. Whether you don't like chip draw, whether you like it, whatever, you still had a chance. And I may be saying too much, but you still had a chance to win $2,000 for just going up to the line. Go up to the line, break the beams, and scoot your car back. You're getting $2,000. So to say it was not about this and not about that, what is it really about? Because if you're there to race, I don't care if I have to go and catch a rabbit and pop a balloon. I'm here to race. And to do the chance at an NHRA event and win $20,000, maybe that's just me. But you know what? We're all entitled to our own opinions. And with that, I think we got somebody that's very opinionated and is going to tell it like it is. What do you think there, Lee?
Yeah, well, we've done something that's unprecedented. We have someone request to come on the show, and we might have opened a can of worms.
Lee, do we have the rule book? Do we have the okay to change the rule book?
Actually, yes.
We do. I'm just making sure we're following the proper rules, because following the rules is the way to go.
Well,
so,
I mean.
Are we both, Lee? Look, I'm gonna look at you, Lee. You gotta look at me. Are we both in agreement that we're following the right rule?
Yes.
Are we
I technically did. I texted Bobby, and Bobby's like, sure. So yes.
Okay. So here, Lee, you pick. You gotta pick. You gotta pick a chip.
Yes. Are those tacks? Those look like tacks.
Yeah. All right. You got a yellow one, so that means you go first. You get lane choice.
I get lane choice. Okay.
Yep, you get lane choice.
Well, I'm going to put in a stellar driver in my lane. Lyle Burnett to the show, who was obviously there in Brainerd, Minnesota. And Lyle, look, I know we're going to talk about many other things, but from what I understand, a new record, reset a record, mile per hour wise in Red Velvet. Cool deal, man.
Yeah, just for Brainerd, not to be confused with Erica Ender, national speed record for NHRA Pro Mod. We set the speed record at Brainerd International Raceway at 256.16 miles per hour and lost that round. It's stupid competitive out there, man. Like Jose is really good. One of my very best friends. And he was 17 letting go of the button. I was 21. He went 575. I went 577. Margin of victory was 200ths. So one of the best races of the weekend, but super proud to leave there with the record. Not a successful weekend for us, but not a bust either. So just leave there with confidence that we got a hot rod that can go to Indy, qualify in the top half, and hopefully be there in the late rounds on Monday.
Bingo. Bingo.
And that's as politically correct as I'm going to get for the rest of this show. So I got it all out right there.
All right. Well, look, man, I know that you are on the, we'll say, another side of the whole D-Wagon shootout and Ricky and the decisions made. So, yeah, I mean, I'm more than willing to, to hear your side of it, which you mentioned your thoughts on social media. You can actually even see it on your race page. And, Bobby even told me that you reached out to him before you even posted that. So a lot of people know what's, the other sides are thinking. But from your perspective,
so I'm going to walk you to my front door real quick. I just want to show you. I want you to tell me if you see a line of people outside my front door quite literally wanting to throw money at NHRA Pro Mod. See anybody out there? Yeah, I didn't think so. That's because there's not a line of people outside of our houses. There's not a line of people at the back of our rigs each and every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we're at a national event quite literally trying to throw money at NHRA Pro Mod. There's not. There are a group of people in the Pro Mod committee that have worked very hard, and I mean very hard. Doug Winters, first and foremost. Dude, I can't thank you enough, Doug, if you're watching or if you see this at any point. Justin Elks, my crew chief. Eric Dillard at Proline, Mike Janis Jr., and Phil Schuler, who is now crew chief for Tony Schumacher. I can't thank those people enough for quite literally bringing life back to NHRA Pro Mod. As far as this weekend goes, first of all, I'm honored that the Pro Modified D-Wagon Shootout has now been compared to the Bud Shootout and Top Fuel. If we're doing something right, if there's been a comparison made there. However, they are two totally different things. This is brand new to Pro Mod. There was no format to freaking follow. And it was something that Doug Winters, Craig, and yes, the NHRA came up with. When we showed up to Brainerd, it had originally been planned for us to run based on our point standings from the previous 5 races of the year. You had to have at least attended one race and earned a single point throughout the year to be eligible to run in the shootout, and all 12 of us that showed up there had done that. Before the first round of qualifying, which the second round of qualifying would have been the first round of the shootout. So if you want to look at it like the shootout was the only race, we had a shakedown, which was technically Q1 for Sunday. And then as second round of qualifying for Sunday rolled around, the first round of the D-Wagon shootout took place. On Thursday night, Craig, the owner of D-Wagon, offered an extra $10,000. Now, I don't know about you or you, Sam, but $10,000 is a lot of money to me. I mean, that buys more than a biscuit, And then you stack on top of that a $7,000 worth of D-Wagon product. So you're looking at an extra 17 grand roughly. And I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money. If we would change the format in which we were going to race, and that was to go to a chip draw. Now, we can discredit the NHRA. We can talk junk about changing the format at a national event right before it starts. But this had nothing to do with racing on Sunday at all. Nothing. It was a bonus during qualifying. This dude literally said, hey, man, I'm willing to pull $20,000 out of my backside, throw it at you guys, and $7,000 worth of my product if you'll chip draw for first round. Yeah. Who wouldn't do that? Why? I don't understand what the big deal is. I don't understand why this is just so appalling to some. Like, what is wrong with that? The dude, and like, if you want to look at it, looking into the future, if we are telling Craig from D-Wagon, man, we don't want your $10,000 or your D-Wagon, really, what's going to say he's going to come back next year? Be appreciative of what these sponsors are willing to do for us. I mean, these guys have spent $70,000+ on NHRA Pro Mod this year. And when they offer up an extra $10,000 in a D-Wagon, you're going to tell them no? Why? For what? Just do it. We're still qualifying for something. We're all there to race for the Wally on Sunday. We're all chasing a points championship. Just do it. And don't bitch about it. I just don't understand. Like, anybody that opposes what happened on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as far as NHRA Pro Mod concerned, has something wrong. A screw loose. And maybe that is the issue. But man, I can't believe it. You know, it's for Ricky to take the stance that he did, you know, and you know, fussing at Doug and everybody that was associated with the shootout, and then to not run it, and to have the announcers at a national event having to announce over the loudspeakers that Ricky Smith decides to not run the D-Wagon shootout. You know, I mean, I was embarrassed a little bit when I went to dinner with the D-Wagon crowd on Friday night. I apologized, you know, to Craig and told him, like, dude, I just want you to know that I, Lyle Barnett, appreciate what you're doing for this class. And I hope that the kind of stink surrounding what's going on here doesn't keep you from coming back to race with us next year, you know? And if he doesn't, was this the reason? I don't know, but it damn sure didn't help.
So as someone that was, you know, on the scenes, like, I got to ask, was there ever a message sent out to you guys, like, saying, hey, this was just presented to us, you know,
Yes.
is everyone interested, or was
Yes.
it just, hey, this is what we're going to do?
On Thursday night, there was a message sent out asking if we were cool with this, you know, and I kind of jokingly in there, because mind you, when the original ladder came out, there was a bye to the final for the top half of the ladder. And that's where I was. Like, I literally gave up my chance at a bye to the final to make this happen. There was some mixed feelings about it. And apparently Ricky went to Doug and expressed his displeasure with the proposal. And Doug said, you know, well, I guess we're just not going to do it. Well, myself, and I don't know if he wants to be named, so I'm not going to name him, but myself and another fellow racer went to Doug and was like, dude, if this is what D-Wagon wants to do, then this is what we need to do. Like, they're just trying to create some excitement. All we've done is complain about how we can't get money. You know, we're not getting the love. We're not feeling the love. And here's the NHRA. All right, guys, we're going to let you have this shootout, you know, and now what are we doing? We're bashing the NHRA for them allowing us to change the format of a shootout that never existed before, that never had a format. So, you know, yes, there was warning. Yes, there was a proposal, I guess you would say, hey, is this what you guys want to do? And it was kind of mixed feelings. You know, we went to Doug the next morning. Craig from D-Wagon called, and we told him we were going to try to get everybody to do it. And mind you, every other driver, every single one, except for Ricky, wanted to do it. You know, and he, you know, goes to the NHRA. There's, you know, articles and whatnot out the next morning. And it's been a constant, dude. I've had tons of phone calls, tons of messages asking, you know, what happened? Why did it happen? You know, and I think it was great. I mean, I think what we did was great for Pro Mod. Am I afraid that what's happened after that is going to hurt us? Yes. But I think that what happened there was awesome. And I hope that we continue to do cool stuff like that. Because if we keep doing the same thing over and over, it gets boring. Like, people, they need a change. They need some excitement. You know, so, man, yes, I guess I went on a tangent there. But yes, to answer your question, there was a text sent out the night before proposing the idea.
So, I mean, like I said, as someone that was there, What do you think? Like leading up to this event, we saw more publicity from you, the racers, and other racers, yourself. Like I said, Stevie Fast Jacks and everyone going back and forth on Facebook, and Stevie Fast Jackson had this long YouTube video changing what was said from an iconic movie scene and talking about pretty much each racer. What do you think that helps? Does that help you guys, do you think, or does that make the pro mod class look very unprofessional because they're using that platform to, just promote their own event?
I got nothing but positivity from it.
I love the Tiger King one, by the way. Love that one.
There were tons of racers from the Top Fuel ranks, the funny car ranks, that came up to me in the pits and were like, "Man, we have been following the meme war. It's awesome." I mean, was it slightly, I guess you would say, on the unprofessional side, maybe, but I think it was awesome, and we had a good time. It kind of lightened the mood, untucked the shirt, like I kind of told you. We kind of have our shirts tucked in around there. And everybody just had a good time, and everybody was laughing. When we got to the pits, none of us had seen each other since that started, so we kind of were jabbing at each other behind the trailers out there, and I thought it was great, man. And I have not heard a single negative thing about it. I actually made a couple that I had to send out for approval because they were a little bit rough, and there was 3 or 4 that got denied. But I mean, I thought it was great.
So what would you say your most reaction meme that you sent was?
The one of Brad Personette and Steve Petty was the one that I got the most, where the Tiger Woods and John Daly one, that I got the most response, out of that one, or it got the most attention, I guess you would say.
So
I like it.
Go ahead,
I feel like those are some areas we see it in other sports and other motorsports even, and it just helps create more discussion, and whatever side people are on, they can chime in, and it builds the whole program. And, y'all were doing it in fun and not necessarily in spite. Why not? I can remember a year back, I believe it was maybe 2 years, I did the whole elf on a shelf, and you've got people that take and they rhyme it with other things. Well, I took like NHRA stars and did that version. It was like Enders on Avengers and Doug on a Tug and stuff like that. And it was very odd to me how some people took it as like disrespectful. I was like, we're just having a laugh around Christmas. We're not talking about drag racing like no one else is.
Yeah. I mean, the same goes right back to what I'm talking about when I say, who cares that we changed the form? Like, it didn't affect anything. And like you said, Sam, before I came on, to go up there and take the beans in the first round of the D-Wagon shootout, I got $2,000. Like, who cares? That's just free money. Here you go, Lyle. Thank you for participating in this year's D-Wagon shootout. We're going to give you $2,000 for losing first round. Okay. Like, I'll lose first round again. Like, it's amazing, man. I cannot see the bad or the wrong way of doing. Like, I think everything about what happened, and I lost first round in both. I lost first round of the D-Wagon shootout. I lost first round on Sunday, and I still think everything about this past weekend was spot on. So good for the class. And I think anybody that thinks different has a problem.
So where do we go from here, Lyle? Like, what else does, it's a 50-50 shot right now with D-Wagon. I think, after talking to them this weekend, they all had fun. They enjoyed it. The fans, I haven't heard of any fans really not saying that were there, didn't enjoy the spontaneous chip draw and the going back and forth. What do we do now going forward with the pro mod class? I mean, Mike Ashley is saying, that the class needed an amazing sponsorship years ago. He's saying it's been that way for a while. They had to put their own money into it. Now you have a guy who's embedded into a race team and who has done that. He doesn't call himself a businessman. He calls himself a promoter. To wake up and say, damn, I got an extra 10 grand in my pocket. I got, $7 grand sitting here in equipment that I'm going to give to you because you can do whatever you want. You can go and sell it for $6 grand and there you go. I mean, what do we? There's one that I like, but it's controversy, so we won't bring that one up. But I mean, I can't even stop laughing at these. But I mean, what do we do to help you guys? See, there's one more. There's one more you got to show me, and you know what I'm talking about.
So my fear right now is that because of the negative publicity that the shootout format change got, that the NHRA is going to be hesitant to let us do anything cool in the future. That's the biggest fear, right? Like, for once, they have allowed us to step outside the box. They stepped outside the box. They allowed us to do something different and something cool. And there's been, with the exception of what I've tried to do as much as I can and promote how awesome it was, there's been nothing but bad publicity about it. And that's not good, dude. Like, they're going to stop letting us do stuff like that. Like, why not just be supportive regardless of how you feel about it? Just go along with it. Like, golly, man. I mean, I just want to pull what little hair I have left out of my head. It's just baffling to me that we can talk bad about what we did this weekend. Like, that was huge. It was so big. Of all the bad talk that there's been about Pro Mod over the past couple years, like, for the most part, since I've been associated with NHRA Pro Mod, it's been about the decline and the nails being driven in the coffin and blah, 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 and on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, we have a pretty breakout year as far as purse is concerned. We got a lot of interest in the class, a lot of money coming in. We do something cool, and we're going to talk bad about it. Like, come on, guys. Let's if we all swim in the same direction, things tend to go a little better, like, it's just, like Wes Buck says, high tides raise all ships. So let's all do this together, as opposed to, for the one time, the NHRA Pro Mod is the talk of the pits, not getting on here on Mondays, and talking bad about it. Like, Jesus Christ, we're trying to make a living here.
So let me ask this live. Does it, in fact, the classic, there is no such thing as bad press, does that even help in this situation, that because of what transpired, or can there be bad press in a situation?
I mean, I think there can be bad press if there isn't something to counteract it. Like, that's why I took to my own social media on Saturday after, Ricky spoke his mind via an article, so I think that, and I talked to many people before I posted anything to make sure that that was the right thing to do. I didn't want to, because at first it was kind of out of anger, and frustration that it was being talked about like that, and I think there can be in this situation. I think that there can be bad press, in the sense that if potential sponsors see that, they're like, no, we better steer clear of NHRA Pro Mod. It can look bad on us and our brand if we try to go do something over there and everybody doesn't approve. So, and that's my only fear, is that I keep using D-Wagon because they are the example, that what if they don't renew next year because of this? Maybe they weren't going to renew, period. But what if they don't renew next year simply because of the stink that came up over what they tried to do for us? Like, that's the fear. So, I mean, I think that in this case, bad press can be bad press, as opposed to, like we normally say, all press is good.
What do you think could be the common ground, the compromising area for all parties in this situation, if we could step back and do it over again? Like, what would appease, in your case, well, Ricky, and this is a timely meme now, isn't it? And everyone else, and D-Wagon and NHRA, what do you think would be that area of compromise where it is all positive in hindsight, and possibly even for the future?
For Ricky to just agree and go show up for first round after he drew his chip. Like, just go run, man. He ran in front of the class, and then the announcers had to make this big deal that Ricky's not running because he didn't want to, and didn't agree with the format change and this free money shootout that D-Wagon's throwing up for $20,000 in the D-Wagon. Dude, just go along with it. Again, and maybe one of you sees the other side of the coin, but who cares that we changed the format? What does it change? What I want to know, maybe there's an unbiased opinion from one of you two, but what did it change? What did it really change about qualifying, about anything that we went to a chip draw instead of leaving the format the way it was? What did it change? From a racer standpoint, nothing. It literally just changed who you were going to run first round. And as opposed to potentially losing first round and taking home $2,000, Ricky went up there trying to prove a point and didn't get anything. What sense does that make? Diesel fuel's $900 a gallon. It's so expensive. Take the $2,000 and put one side of your semi truck full of fuel. I feel like I keep going in circles, but I'm really having a hard time understanding why it was a big deal that we changed the format. I just don't get it. Maybe somebody listening can weigh in on that. Why we think that, the only thing I've heard is that Ricky made a decision and he stood by it and they respect him for that. Okay. All right, cool. But what good did that do? What did we prove? That we're hard-headed? That we're unappreciative? Man, it blows my mind. I don't get it. Maybe I'm hoping somebody will comment so that maybe I can see the other side of this coin. And trust me, I've tried. I've tried to maybe think, okay, well, maybe he just didn't want free money, or nope, don't get it. Nope, can't. Don't see anything. See nothing wrong with changing the format, going to a chip draw. Fox Sports brought a TV crew and an announcer to the pits and filmed the chip draw. Seems like a good thing for NHRA Pro Mod. Wouldn't you like for your sanctioning body, who maybe we feel like doesn't get a whole lot of love, to be the center of attention for 30 seconds?
I think they took the time out. If we watched it from the winner's pit, to show, final rounds and the presentation of the trophy and everything like that. So, there was a lot of publicity about it. Like I said, I have my opinion, and that's what it is. I don't see, I haven't seen anything wrong with it. I was there when you guys came and talked with Doug. I was there when the chip draw happened. I've seen it all.
Wasn't it cool?
To me, this is my personal opinion of it, and someone can take it the wrong way. But it took me back, and Lee, you can attest to this, and Lyle, you can too. It took me back to being at the World Door Slammers. It took me back to being at the starting line in Valdosta. It took me back to just an old school back home. Hey, we're by someone's trailer and we're gonna jaw jack. And Joe Costella's sitting there and we've got this person picking out this, and you're actually picking the chips out of the D-Wagon cooler. How else do you want to promote, something and just continue to give back and give back? So for me, I was pretty pissed off. I've said what I said, Lyle. We talked about it. Even my watch is telling me that my heart rate needs to go down right now. But.
So let's just maybe, Ricky's talking about retirement, right? And maybe the new way of doing thing has surpassed, what he really feels is the true home to NHRA Pro Mod. And maybe it is time for retirement, right? Let's not they've been doing it the same way for so long, man. And cell phones that I'm talking to you on, social media, modern technology has changed in general the way people think, the way that they take in information, the way that they, maybe even the way that they watch us race. And we have to change with it. You can't keep doing it the same way that we've always been doing it. You got to add a little spice to it here and there. And this was really our attempt at doing that, and the fact that we can talk bad about it, unbelievable. I mean, I just, whew.
Well, I do hope that there are positives out of this, and that D-Wagon, it seems like you all mentioned they did have a good time, and maybe they will be back, and maybe we'll potentially bring others in, and we can move beyond this. And in the meantime, we do have great memes that we can enjoy.
Yeah, and I heard Bobby, talking about nothing. Get that one off there. That nothing can change without going through the NHRA, and maybe that their decision to allow us to change it was short-sighted. But again, it was for once they allowed us to have the input. They allowed us to make the rules. They allowed us to do our own thing for once. And we're going to talk bad about them, and I just, man, it's not good. Like, what if they don't let us do something cool like this again? What if they don't let us add a little flavor and try to create some excitement around a class that we claim is struggling? Like,
So, Lyle, here's a question. Does it make it worse that Ricky came out and won on Sunday? I mean, racing Doug winners, right? I mean, just imagine that. I mean, if Doug wins on Sunday in front of and how many times did Alan Reinhardt say that? If Doug wins, he's got Steinar from Minnesota. He's got D-Wagon here. This would be the weekend. I mean, to talk about Doug Winters, who's doing this, helping do this for the class, this was the guy's first final round all year. He goes to the final round while his sponsors are throwing out money. I mean,
there were a lot of Doug Winters fans in that final round right there. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed that Ricky won. I didn't feel like he deserved it after, kind of the way he'd acted over the weekend, and I was pulling hard for Doug. And I think if Doug had not had to pedal, I think Doug would have won on a hole shot. I think Ricky was like 90 letting go or something like that.
It was a 22 to a 96 light, if I'm not mistaken.
So all Doug had to do was repeat it from his run from the round before, and I think he'd have won. Not by much, but it would have been a win for Doug. And man, I hate he had to pedal. But if that's the win it took to maybe get Ricky to retire, then so be it. Jesus, let's continue to do cool stuff for the class, and if we got to move on without him, then that's just what we have to do. But like, man, I was super disappointed in the way that turned out over the weekend. Ricky and I've kind of always, not always, but we've butted heads on and off since I've been in the series, and and I just lost some respect, man. That's it.
All right. Well, Lyle, hopefully you have a stellar U.S. Nationals, and we can see some things turn around. I know you've had some challenging few races here recently in your Turbo Red Velvet Elite Motorsports machine.
Yeah. That's a hard combination to run, man. It's the hardest, no doubt, hands down, to get up and down the racetrack. We're at a bit of a disadvantage on the starting line, depending on the quality of the racer next to you, and how they choose to treat you, and really hard to manage that wheel speed, and with only 33 pounds of boost, it's just hard for us to make it up out the back without leaning really, really hard on the engine, and so it's tough. We had an end of the year that was, all but not believable or unbelievable. It was dream. It was a dream, really. We won 2 of the last 3 in a combination that they had deemed not competitive. So, honestly, I started this year out with, I had my chest poked out a little bit. I thought we was going to come out swinging, but man, drag racing, the sport as a whole, is humbling. But man, you cover an NHRA Pro Mod and it'll knock you right back down in the dirt quicker than you got up. So we feel like we've got a hot rod that can compete. We just got to shake this little bit of bad luck, man. And I feel pretty confident going into Indy that we can go some rounds. That last run we made in Brainerd was pretty stout. We just came up just a little bit short, so I'm confident going to Indy. I'm excited to go. It's the big go. Y'all talked about it the whole show. It is the World Series. It's the biggest drag race there's ever been, so I'm excited and hunting my first Wally of 22 and hopefully can make up some ground on both Chris Thorne and Ricky, because they've got a pretty commanding lead right now.
All right. Well, man, look, thank you for coming on very quickly. And,
Yep.
and look, and thanks to Bobby too, because we've heard Bobby's take and side. We've heard Ricky's.
Yep.
We've heard Ricky's side. We've heard your side. We've heard every side here on Competition Plus. So I'm glad that we're able to have that in drag racing. So thanks for cluing us in, man.
Yep. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you guys. And Competition Plus, man, it's cool. I think I was the Saturday headline for a couple days in a row, thanks to Bobby. So I obviously appreciate any of that and what you guys do. So anytime you want me on for some controversial talk or just a bullshit, I'm always here. So you just let me know.
Or memes.
Oh yeah. I texted Stevie this morning. I said, buddy, I'm sorry, but I forgot that I had this one and I have to post it. So there it is.
Thank you, Lyle. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all.
Well, Sam, look. Let's see. Competition Plus would be from Bobby. I can have a different opinion than someone, but that doesn't mean I don't have the utmost respect for those racers I cover in Lyle and whether Lyle feels the same. And look, I think that's critical. I think that's important. We can have different opinions. And, look, Bobby could have told me, no, don't let Lyle on. And it is his platform and it is his show ultimately. But he let Lyle come on. We've heard all sides. And I think that's what's cool in this scenario, at least, of everything has come out. And oftentimes we don't get everything to come out. And you don't hear all about each side and this side. It just stays closed up and the sport doesn't move forward at all. And I hope through this whole situation, ultimately, the sport does move forward, period. That's, I think, the positive that can come out of it.
Yeah, 100%, Lee. I mean, it's great to talk about it. It's great, that we had Lyle on. And like I said, I mean, everybody, as a driver for Lyle, he sees things one way. As me, reporting about it and getting stories about it, I see it another way. Bobby sees it another way. And I mean, that's what's unique about it, is everybody sees it a different way, so we can all tell it different. I just, like I said, and like Lyle said, this class and everyone on this show knows that I'm a very huge fan of the door slammer cars. I just hope that this class actually could, gets the love that it needs. And I think that's what it's all about, is, getting Pro Mod to where we think it should be. And I think the way we do it is shootouts like this and continue to, grow and thrive through it. I mean, that's the only way we're going to be able to do this. So whether we like it, whether we hate it, no matter what we're talking about it, it's just like it's just like the burn down. We talked about that in Pro Stock for forever. So, I mean, all in all, if you didn't like what was going on the racetrack, all you had to do was make the march about 4 miles or not even 4 miles away from the racing surface, and you could, party like a rock star and party like an animal. And that's what Brainerd gives you. So,
with you saying that, look, we have mentioned D-Wagon. Let's talk about what it is. They're not a sponsor of the show, but it is a very cool product that they have. So, it's like this trailer that goes to a golf cart that you can sit and enjoy and have a cup holder and relax. Like, look, D-Wagon and the zoo, perfect pairing.
Yeah, so Lee, there was 2 of them out in the zoo, but in all reality, this is what a D-Wagon is. We've all been on the golf carts or whatever it is, or we have someone come. It's really cool in drag races, because if you're towing around one of your sponsors or someone like that, this one here is the double-sided, so it's got, it can sit 6, but I mean, honestly, it sits 4 comfortably. Has a little cooler on the front. Each one of them does. Then they have the extended version that sits, I think, up to 12 is the max version that they have. Then they have a sportsman version, where if you unhook it, you have a cooler in the front, you have fishing rod holders, and you can sit there and take it somewhere and sit off the edge of the dock or, right on the shore and fish. I mean, it's basically something where a family that has a golf cart can bring, mom and dad can sit up front, 2 kids can sit in the back, and their friends can jump on too. Or if you're crawling around the pits and you've got the whole crew with you, or if you're on a beach somewhere and you got a side-by-side and you're strolling down the beach to, for the bachelor party, for the bachelorette party, everyone can go. And this was an idea of just how do we get more people on one machine? I mean, great idea, well built, powder coated, the whole 9 yards, fancy rims like we saw on there. So I mean, what they're doing, and the support that you have when you buy one of these. If you have questions, D-Wagon will let you hook it up to your golf carts or your side by side, whatever it may be. They're at the track, so you can test those out. So it's really cool. I mean, I honestly think, and I don't know if this is one of their ideas, but for those guys that have a lot of people that come to the racetrack, I think they should be able to rent them out. It's a party pooler, exactly. But they should be able to rent those out at the racetrack. So, let's just say Justin Ashley's got, 12 extra guests that they, aren't used to having. They don't have to make a couple of trips back and forth. They can throw them all on the D-Wagon and go down. So, I mean, it was cool to see with the winners crew, they had one that said about 12 people, and they took them all up in one shot, So, I mean, what D-Wagon and Steinar, what they're doing for the class it's phenomenal. And like Lyle said, I mean, they've been talking about it for years. Of how do we get more sponsorship? How do we get this? How do we get that? And they got it. And I mean, yes, it sucks that there wasn't full participation, but like he said, I wouldn't throw away $2,000. So I would have put my scooter and my Crocs into the staging beams and taken that first round L and taken the $2,000 back to the trailer.
Well, either way, again, I'm glad that right here on Competition Plus, Power Hour, competitionplus.com, that all of this has been aired, and every side. I don't know if there's another side. It's like it seems like it's all been aired, and you can take whichever one it is. And I just hope for the class and the sport as a whole, it all moves forward in a positive direction. Because yes, Pro Mod does deserve to be paid more. Pro Mod deserves to have more airtime. Pro Mod deserves, I think,
be on the page on Sunday
of the Camping World banner. Granted, that may never happen, not just for Pro Mod, but anyone else, because of history and what is out there. That's a fact. So, nonetheless, there can definitely be more within the sport as a whole and the NHRA for them. And we'll see what transpires in the future. We look forward to a great U.S. Nationals with Pro Mod, because, Sam, there's been a history of Pro Mod getting pretty wild at the U.S. Nationals, and I hope they have a good race and we have some great storylines coming out of it.
Hey, so you mean to tell me it's going to get wilder than it was this weekend? So there's going to be $40,000 up for grabs.
You never know. You never know. Maybe someone will put that out.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, Sam, look, I'm glad you were able to finally jump in, and whatever was going on got worked out, and we were able to have a good show. Folks, what a great show we had. We had Alex Knight on, talked about the upcoming game. We had Will Tharpe on, talking about the Division III and Route 66, Bowling Green, now rolling into the U.S. Nationals here soon as well. And even guest appearance from Lyle Barnett and Bobby giving his commentary as well. I think this showcased what the Power Hour can and should be, and it was good to be a part of it.
Yeah, it definitely was, Lee. And like I said, being down in Brainerd here this weekend, I mean, hats off to that place. They do a phenomenal job. If you've never been, it's somewhere that you need to. I mean, whether you show up for a day or you're there for the whole week, or if you're still there right now, because I'm pretty sure
probably
there's people that have not left. But I mean, whatever it may be, get there and experience it. I mean, there's nothing like the facility and just the atmosphere there. I mean, it's the zoo, baby. But yeah, it's great to have, I mean, a lot of people may say whatever they want, but it's great to have a facility that is door to door, it says it's 6.5 hours, and can make it in about 5:45. But it's great to have a facility that's door to door, that close to me. I don't have to jump on an airplane. I could if I wanted to, but I can just get in the vehicle and drive down the road and go and see some NHRA drag racing. And I love it because my favorite class, one of, the hard hidden people of Pro Mod, they're there. So Can't complain.
Folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button at Competition Plus TV. We're going to close out with a segment that I should have got done with and put in earlier, and that is a glimpse at storytellers with Bill Bader Jr. Sam, say bye.
We're going to Indy, baby.
See y'all.
I'm Bill Bader Jr., and you're watching Storytellers at Competition Plus TV.
Oh my God.
And so we put these things into position. Absolutely no idea what was coming. And at the appropriate moment in the show, I'm trackside and getting ready for the outro. And on cue, Terry fires these things, and they were like 10 nuclear bombs. I mean, I felt it pushed me back. And the smoke and again, we had mushroom clouds, and I look to the crowd control fences and there's nobody on the fences. There's nobody on the fans are missing from the crowd control fences. And I radioed, I said, I think we just killed somebody.